As part of last week's swordtail fish room tour, we had a look at a couple of new swordtail species that made their way into the barn. So those were not the only species that made their way into the fish barn during the past couple of weeks. Despite the winter weather and some delays at the post office, all of these fish made it here safe and sound. So let's dive into the fish barn and I'll introduce you to all of these new fish. So first up are these lemon drop bristlenose plecos. I was able to pick up the breeding pair as well as 5 fry from a local friend of mine. I've added them to this 40 breeder that's also home to the Kalmani swordtails. This tank has had some algae problems in the past, so definitely having some bottom dwelling species would be a good idea to help get this tank cleaned up a little bit. I have changed the aquascape a little bit in this tank as well, adding some driftwood as well as some Pleco Caves for the spawning pair to breed in. So hopefully we'll have some new baby plecos coming into the barn shortly. I also made the trip out to one of the local fish stores and was able to pick up some of these L204 flash plecos. This fish is native to Peru, lives at your normal tropical temperatures, and gets to be about 5 inches long. This is a wood-eating pleco species, so having driftwood in your tank is a must. I have them living here in this 30-gallon tank with the Limia isli. I've redecorated this tank as well, adding some driftwood and some more Pleco Caves, which I purchased at the aquarium co-op. I really enjoy the striping on these fish, and I'm really looking forward to getting them up to size. In that same trip to the fish store, I also did pick up these Adolphi Corydoras as well. I did purchase 6 of these, but unfortunately I did lose one of them. In the wild, you can find these fish in Peru and Brazil, and they get to be about 2 to 2.5 inches in length. These fish are tolerant of your standard aquarium conditions and are generally quite hardy once you get them settled in. Right now I have these in a 20-gallon tank with my betta edithae. I'm hoping the schooling behavior of the Corydoras make these shy bettas come out a little bit more, because they are definitely awesome little fish. One thing to keep in mind with Corydoras is that you do want to keep these fish in a group since they do like to school. Speaking of bottom dwellers, we also got a group of Altrolamprologus Sumbu shell from Sand City cichlids. I find this fish to be quite interesting because it's kind of a calvus and shell dweller mixed into one. It looks like a calvus, but then behaves much like a shell dweller. Like its cousin the calvus, it takes a long time to grow out, but once it grows out, this fish spawns in shells in other confined areas. I currently have a group of 5 of these fish in a 40 breeder with Vallisneria, some rockwork, a sandy substrate, and of course, escargot shells. Speaking of shell dwellers, I did get a couple more Neolamprologus Similis. I had to move them to this 29-gallon tank since the Burchardi and the 75 have been breeding like crazy and have just simply outcompeted the Similis, resulting in this move. So I'm definitely looking to restart this colony here in this 29-gallon and get this group going again. I also picked up another group of Endlers from Aquabid as well. This time I decided to go the green route with these lime green Endlers. This is the same seller that I got the red spot Endlers from on Aquabid. There's already a colored up male in this tank, which I find to be pretty cool. I currently have them in a 10-gallon tank downstairs, and I'm really looking forward to getting some fry. Next up are these Dwarf Merry Widow Livebearers. I picked up this group of fry off of Aquabid, and I'm pretty excited to have them back in the fish room. These cool little Livebearers are native to Costa Rica and are a great little nano fish, getting only about 1 inch to 1.5 inches long. Even as fry, these are active little fish and are quite enjoyable. I currently have them in this planted 20 long, and I'm looking forward to getting some fry in the near future. So next up is another cool little fish, the Xiphophorous Couchianus, or Monterey platy. This species is actually listed as extinct in the wild by the IUCN as its habitat has dried up or became polluted. Unfortunately, this species is now being kept only by hobbyists and academic institutions. This fish is not very colorful, but gets to be about 2.5 inches long. Due to its shy nature, I do have this 20-gallon hive heavily planted, and I do keep this tank rather dark. But this is another fish that I really look forward to preserving and getting it out to my fellow hobbyists. This is definitely one thing I do like about the aquarium hobby, is that for some species, we've actually been able to keep them in our aquariums, and in some cases, even reintroduce them into the wild at a later date. Next up is the Xiphophorous Variatus from Rio Encino. This strain is pretty cool, with the dominant males getting some red and yellow striping, while the females and less dominant males are more of a tan color. I do have this fish in a 20-gallon tank as well, and I'm pretty excited to see this grow out and see the colors develop on this fish. One of the worst things that can happen when keeping or breeding fish is only having one individual of a particular species. This happened with my Xenotoca Doadroi, which I lost one of the pair that I picked up at an auction. I decided it was time to remedy that situation with this group that I picked up from Aquabid. These group of fry will go along nicely with the male that I have in this 29-gallon planted tank. These Mexican fish, like all godads, are endangered in the wild, so it's important to keep these fish going so we don't lose this species completely. This is definitely a fish I'm excited to add to my ongoing godad projects. Well, we've definitely been through a lot of fish here in the fish tank barn, but this last one I'm going to need your help with. I was able to pick up this group of rainbows from the same friend that I got the plecos from that we talked about in the beginning of the video. Unfortunately, he doesn't remember their name. He did get them from the fish club, so I do doubt that they're hybrids, but I really would like to know which ones they are. These fish are massive, with the biggest male being about 6 inches long or so, and they're currently living with the Variatus ornatus and the L134 leopard frog plecos. I've not had a chance really yet to see this fish really show out, but this is definitely a really cool fish. I just want to know what it is. So if you guys have any ideas of what this fish might be, go ahead and let me know in the comment section.